Welcome to the Positive Pants Podcast. Mindset, motivation and inspiration to help you find your positive pants. It's time to let go of negative thinking, understand why you do what you do and stop the self-sabotage with your host, Fran Excel.
Welcome to the show. As always, it's Fran Excel, your resident subconscious success mentor, helping you find your very own pair of positive pants so you can get out of your own way and live a life that you love. If you want to stop self-sabotaging your own success and let go of the stress, then you are in the right place, my friend. Make sure you download your free Stressed to Success guided meditation at bit.ly/stress to success as my little gift to you just for being here. Please do subscribe, share and review. It really, really helps people that need to hear this message find us, and I so appreciate it. In the show notes, you'll also find details of how you can work with me and where you can get your mitts on my meditations, products, printables, programs. You can find it through the link in my bio on Instagram, which is my favorite place to hang out. So please do come join me over there at I'm Fran Excel. Tag me in your takeaways, slide into my DMs. I'm here for it. So that's the formalities over, my love. So let's jump to the content. What is happiness? Oof. Big question. What is this big thing that so many of us spend our lives trying to find? Do you actually know specifically? How will you know when you have it? What happiness looks and feels like will vary from one person to another, yet we all feel like we're chasing the same thing, right? It can feel pretty elusive and hard to nail down at times. I could ask 500 of you what happiness meant to you and end up with 500 entirely different answers. It's another part of our collective human experience that we may never have even thought to question or dig into. Like so many things, we walk around on autopilot making assumptions based on our own maps of the world and think that everyone else thinks the same as us or should think the same as us. But sometimes even that part isn't clear. Like, what do we really think? And this is why I love digging into our own psyches so much. It's so fascinating when you really look into the things that we believe, think, and feel. It's so subjective and can be changed simply by daring to look a little closer at times and pick apart our unconscious programming and natural learned protection mechanisms. It's also entirely likely that me asking you this question today and in 10 years' time, and probably 10 years ago, that it would have had completely different answers. And yet we can feel like we're chasing this elusive happiness without realizing we might already have it. It all comes down to perspective again. You might have something big going on that really isn't ideal. And I know so many of us can relate to that. But could you still be happy underneath it all? Could you still consider yourself happy? Can you have that not ideal thing going on and not judge it or transpose it over all other areas of your life and still be able to say that you're happy? To some people, happiness might be joy, elation, laughter. To some, it might look and feel like peace and contentment. To some people, it might be love and connection. To some people, it might look like passion and purpose. To some, it might be high levels of self-esteem and pride. And to some, it might simply look and feel like acceptance. So what is it? Is happiness something that is realistic to expect to feel all the time? Is it a fleeting feeling or a more general state? Is it a passive or an active state? Meaning, do you have responsibility in it, or is it just something that happens to you? I blooming love doing a little deep dive into what certain emotions and feelings really look like for me. Yes, I am a massive geek. We know this. You know, what does it look like without society's opinions and the opinions of other people? Really allowing myself to dig in and essentially create a map of that emotion according to me. And I often find some surprises in there. But I think, what words do I associate with it? What feelings do I associate with it? Where do I feel it in my body and what does it specifically feel like? How do I know when it's there? How much can I name about this emotion and its qualities? It really creates some next level self-awareness and real clarity over what you want and how you're going to achieve it. As we all know, self-awareness is the key to changing any of our behaviors and therefore everything else in our lives, right? The kind of awareness that most people simply don't get to without the desire to what I call seek to understand. And I mean that in the context of self, others, society, and the world. Like, this is where the Enneagram comes in so handy and why I always use it so much. But the more you can question, be curious, and understand yourself, other people, society, and the world, the more everything makes sense, even when it doesn't make sense. Hope that makes sense. I find mapping out an emotional state can also give me more of a map of how to reach it. So it takes away any judgment around perhaps not having it right now, or having it if it's something like anxiety, for example, that's less desirable, so to speak. And it replaces that judgment with curiosity. And when your filters are clouded by other people's and societies and cultural filters, it's usually very difficult to really find what you're looking for because, let's be honest, the waters are a little muddy. It can be clouded by what we think it should or is supposed to look like. You know, this idea that it's something that we eventually reach once we have other things in our lives. And it just doesn't really work that way. You can feel it right now with exactly where you're at. There's so much nuance to the human condition, to our feelings, our thoughts, our behaviors, and it's really easy to assume that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. But in reality, we just aren't. Our own experiences throughout our lives, particularly before we're 8 years old, have shaped a lot of our expectations, which I think is a lot of the key to happiness, right? It's what are our expectations and why are they our expectations? And I mean, let's be honest, Disney and rom-coms have a lot to answer for here too. So do you know what makes you happy? Is it different to what brings you joy? Joy tends to be fleeting and happiness more long-lasting, in my opinion. So let's look at this a different way too. Like, do you specifically know what stops your happiness or interferes with it? Do you feel like other people or external things are required for you to be able to feel it? Because the reality here is, spoiler alert, there is no one universally agreed upon definition of happiness. There isn't one. Different cultures have different words and expectations when it comes to happiness. If you compare America to Japan, for example, happiness looks very, very different. In America, happiness is seen as more joyful, energetic, kind of like high vibe. And in Japan, it's more calm and serene. Yeah. So many people, when you ask what's important to them and what do they want for their lives, they will say happiness or to be happy. So I believe it's really, really important to define what that is for ourselves and to make sure we're super clear on the things that do make us happy so we can do more of that. Really gives a huge amount of control back. Emotions are and will always be transient. They're movable. You're not meant to feel just one thing all the time, right? And the way that I see happiness personally is that underlying feeling of contentment and peace can still be there, even when things are a little more rocky. It's a sense of solidity. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm going with it. I'm sure you'll get what I mean. A sense of groundedness, a sense that everything is always going to turn out okay, a sense of calm and balance that I literally feel in my nervous system. That feeling of being able to do a big, deep, I feel like all is well, even if it's not 100% true at that moment. A sense of satisfaction and optimism. So you can see, I really don't think that happiness is one thing. I think it's a combination of lots of things. So what is happiness? Happiness is entirely subjective and exactly what you decide it to be. And it might be closer than you have allowed yourself to realize. So if you got value from this and you know in your gut that now is the time to step up and start rewiring your thinking and start changing things for yourself, then join the Positive Pants Toolkit app and community so you can work out what needs to happen to get you from where you're at right now to the action-taking success you know you can be. And if you want my eyes and ears on your problems, then I work with people one-on-one and through my programs. You can find all the details to join the toolkit or book in a call in the show notes, the link in my bio on Instagram, and on my website, franexcel.com. So stop waiting for if and when and choose to change things now because you can. I'm here to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. And as always, I hope you found this helpful and I'll see you next week. Bye.